Oh my god. Yeah. My friends aren't really playing Marvel Snap that much anymore, and honestly, I can't really blame them. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Snap is unironically in a pretty good state right now. I'm personally finding a lot of exciting content in this game, but I can also see a few cracks expanding. While my time in the game is fun, there are a lot of areas that I think Second Dinner can improve on. So let's talk about it. Today, we are discussing 6 changes to take Marvel Snap from good to great. Let's start with one of the most important changes in my opinion. More ways to play. To be clear, we're headed in the right direction on this front. The addition of seasonal events like Deadpool's Diner or Sanctum Showdown was a great decision. I think Sanctum especially was a success. The gameplay was innovative, the reward system made sense and actually incentivized players to stick out games instead of failing, and even if you lost a game, you were still gaining currency for it. This game was the most fun I've had in Marvel Snap in a long time. Now the problem stems from when those game modes aren't available. We've essentially been playing Snap the exact same way for the last 2.5 years, and at its core, it's still a fun game, but I think it's safe to say the players are getting bored of the same formula we've been following. Truth be told, I don't know what the exact solution to this problem is, aside from developing more game modes, but the other side of that coin is that this would take away from other areas of development. The other solution I find, the more realistic one, is making these time game modes less time gated. I don't know enough about game design or live servers to determine just how taxing this would be on Second Dinner, and I wonder how it would affect player pools in each playlist, but I imagine being able to try out different modes more consistently would help with player burnout. Following that, however, is one of my more personal hot button issues with Snap right now. The inability to easily target farm boosters. At the beginning of 2024, Second Dinner shared a roadmap for new features in development. Booster VATs were a feature listed under In Development, described as a way for players to pick a character to get boosters after a match. After months of no update on this feature, however, followed by its eventual removal from future roadmaps, I was pretty disappointed. Acquiring cool splits is the prime motivator for me to play Marvel Snap. I've sort of accepted that I don't want to put in the time or effort into becoming incredibly good at the game, so I get more enjoyment from playing on a casual level and growing my collection of Marvel NFTs. Here's the thing though, we're technically able to target farm in Marvel Snap as it is. Do you know how to do it? It's just so convoluted. Here's how. Step 1, make a list of all those cards that you want to target farm. For all of those characters, spend your boosters until you can't upgrade them anymore. Step 2, earn enough boosters for literally anything else that you don't want to target to where you're able to upgrade them. Do not upgrade them. What this does is keeps them out of your bonus boosters tab in the store. Step 3, check your bonus boosters tab every 8 hours and you should find the cards you're target farming. Now, if that sounds stupid, that's because it is. Earning enough boosters for everything you're not trying to farm is such a tedious process, and what's so infuriating about it is that there's an incredibly simple solution that Second Dinner themselves showcased. But for the sake of argument, let's just say that booster VATs are an impossible feature to bring into the game. There is another simple solution that comes to my mind. Double XP weekends. You've seen these in COD most frequently, and it's something I think would convert beautifully to Snap. Once a month, every 2 months, I don't really care how often it is, you can set whatever interval you want, but just give us Foggy's Gym as a featured zone for an entire weekend. In my opinion, Snap would also benefit from some quality of life updates. These are mostly minor changes in my eyes, but I think they'd go a long way to making our lives easier in-game. The first feature I'd suggest adding are custom search tags. Pokemon Go introduced this feature a while back, and it's been revolutionary for organizing and searching through thousands of Pokemon you've collected over the years. And this is a feature that Snap players, especially collectors and split chasers like myself, would really come to appreciate. In general though, I just think more search filters would be a good addition. And as a final, very nitpicky suggestion, I would personally like to have an all emotes off button. Look, emotes are fun, and you want to use them once you earn them, especially if it's from an album, but we've all faced that one player who cannot keep their fingers off the Miss Marvel thumbs up. It gets annoying and downright distracting after a certain amount of time. Even if it neuters my own ability to emo when it's on, flipping this switch to just turn off every single one would save me effort for having to hit the mute button on every single player. Okay, now if any change I suggest is going to be controversial, it is going to be this one. I'm really tired of this whole created card archetype. There are 2 ways that we can look at this conversation, which I'm going to be calling determined creation and random creation. Let's start with Determined Creation. These are cards like Thanos, Agamotto, and the upcoming Infinity Ultron, which add determined cards to your deck at the start of the game. While I do think these cards have an overwhelming amount of functionality for being single cards, I can at least see the creativity and inspiration in each of these decks. There's a clear game plan that the stones or the spells help to augment or achieve. At the end of the day, like I said, there's still a clear amount of thought behind a deck built with these cards, even if Agamotto does make me want to rip out my hair. Now, for the other term, Random Creation. These are any cards that state add random bulk wrap to your deck or hand. I know Arsham was a hot topic of debate last year regarding whether it was a good card or whether it needed to be nerfed, but part of why I dislike that card so much is because it takes a lot of the fun and skill out of deck building. Yes, you can run cards like Isan and Mockingbird that augment how you use these created cards, but I often don't feel like I'm being outskilled when I lose a match to 8 cards created by Arsham. It feels like I lost a coin flip. And if I wanted to do that, I'd go play Pokemon TCG Pocket. Again, I know this is going to be a controversial take, so if you disagree with me, I understand. In fact, if you do, I would love to hear your thoughts on these mechanics and why you think they're a little more fair than I do. It might just help me understand another perspective, which, if you ask me, is never a bad thing. Now, this is going to be another really personal pick for me, but I think one that'll be far less controversial. Marvel Snap's private match features have remained relatively unchanged since their introduction 2 years ago, and I think they're overdue for a little bit of revision. Now, I don't have the data for how often players engage with the private match feature in the first place, and I don't think it's a hot priority for Second Dinner, but as someone who likes to run tournaments for this game, it would be nice to have a little more customization settings for games that we run. Frankly put, there are a lot of locations in this game that aren't fun to play on, and when you're running a tournament for your friends with a prize on the line, it can be really frustrating to get scammed out of a game because your opponent happened to be better prepared for a location. Imagine the tournament potential if we could choose our own formats, ban and feature locations as you please, whatever game mode you want. The possibilities for content are endless. And I know it's a pretty selfish way of thinking about it, but I'm sure there are a lot of other creators that would agree with me on that. Also, while we're here, let's put a spectate mode into the game. This, once again, is a selfish request. I've hosted 2 tournaments now, and I'll be hosting a 3rd one soon. And the worst part of each of those tournaments is having to watch a grainy Twitch stream or Discord screen share to see each match. At the end of the day, while that doesn't ruin the entire event, it's definitely a crappier experience for my viewers, which I obviously want to fix. And finally, the one that everyone is far too aware of. Marvel Snap used to be a game I'd recommend on the premise of it's incredibly friendly for free to play. And I don't know if I can give that praise anymore. We've seen an escalating amount of for money microtransactions in the game and a decreasing amount of for gold microtransactions. If you want to charge $10 for the season pass, that's fine, go for it, I don't think that's a big deal. But the fact that so few of these bundles can be purchased for gold, however, is pretty criminal. On that note, why are we selling unacquired cards for money instead of addressing the card acquisition problem? This feels like when Destiny made a starter pack on Steam for real-world money that included exotic weapons. It's such a scummy thing to put a price tag on, especially when, as I just mentioned, in-game card acquisition is so terrible. Yeah, let's talk about it for a second. How do you acquire cards in Marvel Snap? Well, your earlier cards come along the collection track, and then you can either gamble with your keys and spotlight caches, or you can spend your tokens. Now here are the problems we face. 1, the spotlight key system is still pretty miserable. Having to sometimes spend 4 keys just for the 1 card you want feels pretty terrible. And I know I've previously missed out on cards because I got unlucky with the 3 keys I had saved up. Is it too reckless to let players choose exactly which card they want to unlock with their key? I don't think so, but from a business perspective, I guess you want people to be paying for keys and tokens. Oh yeah, did you also forget tokens are in this game? I forgot because they barely even drop from caches anymore. Buying anything with tokens is incredibly inefficient as a free-to-play player. To get a meta-contending Series 5 card, you're looking at weeks of opening caches for tokens. Or, you could always spend money on a bundle, but then you wouldn't be a free-to-play player, would you? So, TLDR, give us more opportunities to spend our gold over begging for money, friendlier methods of acquiring new cards. Yeah, I think that's it. Now to kind of wrap things up, like I said at the beginning, I think Snap is in a decent spot, and I know this video is a pretty crappy testimony for that statement, but there's a lot happening that I'm really enjoying. Card Mastery, while implemented sort of strangely, has been a lot of fun when it comes to creating custom cards. Sanctum Showdown by far was my favorite seasonal game mode because it really shook up how we play the game in a meaningful way. The new cards from the last few months, while difficult to acquire, have been a lot of fun to play with. I've most recently been enjoying Firehair, and now I'm really regretting not picking up Misery when it first came out. And of course, at its core, the gameplay is still fun. What I like about Snap is that there aren't many slow controlling strategies that slow down the game to a halt. Like, yeah, you've got cards like Jean Grey and Cosmo that slow things down, sort of, but those more augment how you play as opposed to being a core strategy. This isn't like a Vanity's Emptiness, Barrier Statue, Fossil Dyna situation. Anyways, thanks for watching. I may or may not have some Snap content in the pipeline, so if that interests you, feel free to drop a sub and stick around.